Hello and welcome back to Shadow Phoenix Tarot. We're going to continue our journey through the minor arcana looking into the Suit of Cups, which indicates water, the element of water, and we're going to be looking at the pip cards 1 through 10. So when we're looking at this card, there's a cup, a hand holding a cup, and there's a cross and a bird above it. So this is about emotions, feelings, it's and they're by extension relationships too, but also spiritual, your spiritual communication, your spiritual intuition. This is the feminine energy of water, and so again, it's very receptive. The Ace of Cups is going to be about new feelings, new relationships, new romances. Could be about if you're going to start like a spiritual journey and you're going to be deepening your intuition or spirit's calling you to that, you may get this. If you're getting messages from angels or guides or departed loved ones, it will oftentimes come with that too. Moving onwards, please do check out the wands video. Check them all out, but I did put a little extra information there about the structure of numerology and the elements. So you'll want to definitely check that out. So here's the Two of Cups. This is one of the big romance cards. So if you are a single person looking for romance, looking for a relationship, a twin flame, a soulmate, and I use those interchangeably. I know some people really split hairs on what those mean. I just mean a romantic partner. This is going to be the card for you. So this is about duality and about sharing and having an even match. There is the card in the major arcana, which is the 6, which is the lovers. It's number 6. Excuse me. The lovers can be more about any good pairing. It can also be about meeting yourself. This card, to me, the way I read it as a reader, is more specifically about romance because it is a minor arcana, not major. Major themes can apply in many different areas of our lives as a general rule. The same goes for the Lover's card. If you have a good friend, if you have a spiritual partner, it's going to mean that. If you make a good match with a religion or a philosophy, if you have a good job, you have a really close relationship with your boss or your coworker, if you're doing a lot of inner work and you're integrating some of your shadow side or you're doing healing, you can also get the Lover's card. It obviously does have an undertone of partnership and romance to it, which, isn't limited only to romance. To me, this one is specifically about romance and about feelings. You'll notice the lion with the wings and the little snakes, which indicate the healing. And so this is definitely about romance and that balance of emotion, having an equal, healthy, good relationship with a partner. So if you get this, woo-woo. And moving forward, we have the Three of Cups. Is my hair coming undone? This is about society and culture and having good relationships with your social group. If you attend any kind of like a moon group or a goddess group, as it were, if you have close relationships with friends and family, this is just really good, healthy social exchange and networking beyond into like a social connection, like network, I guess is like your own personal support system. Also, this is for celebration. Just like the Four of Wands, this is again a little bit more an emotional side or emotional connectivity or celebration per se. The Four of Swords is more about like having a place to do that, a homecoming. But this also can be very good. And then again, this is a 3. So when this energy is active, there's a lot of positive things that happen. A lot of times with the odd numbers, there's movement, which can be healing and good. We'll see soon. It's not always the case. This is 4 of Cups, and this person is dealing with some disillusionment, some dissatisfaction, and they're a little bit stuck in the mud about it. They're having a hard time moving on from something. They have everything that they want. There's the 3 of Cups, and then there's even a 4th being offered, but sometimes, you're just blah. And there's not even necessarily a real reason why, but there's just a sense of dissatisfaction. And it can be that these are too stable. Again, we talked about, some of the feminine signs and having too much stability in a receptive element. This could be that there's not enough going on. If you look at the card, there's nothing really wrong with this person or the scene. So it's just this internal sense of dissatisfaction. You're going to want to look at cards next to this very carefully in your read. And then next, we have the Five of Cups. So like we said, this card is about sadness and mourning, turning your back on what is there. It can be in a healthy way, like actualizing grief and letting things go. It can, in a negative sense, be about turning your back on positive things that are occurred. The one thing that we know for sure is that this person is sad and upset. We don't necessarily know why. Look to the cards next to it. But like we said, sometimes change in emotions can bring movement, which is happy. Sometimes change in emotions, these cups spill. There was a loss of some sort. So this can be difficult for people to deal with, the letting go. And again, that's why it's tied to grief. You'll see this card a lot with the Death card in the major arcana, maybe some swords. And this tends to be more of like a heartbreak or a regret. There's usually some regret here, having a hard time processing, letting things go. You also see the bridge and the water, build a bridge and get over it, which is kind of like a sassy way of saying it. But honestly, that is this person's next stage, which is to let go and release that, and then from that point move on and literally to cross the bridge and go to the other side of their emotions, the water, go to the other side and to continue on in their journey. Okay. Next, we have the Six of Cups. So this is an interesting card. They've got cups and they're full of flowers, which is funny, and these tend to be interpreted as children, but the size is really strange on them. This cup is about memories, happy memories, a happier, simpler time. The other thing that usually will come through with this card is it indicates either like soulmate, twin flame, it's a karmic card, or this relationship is a sacred contract of some sort. So usually this goes with your soul family who you reincarnate with. We tend to reincarnate in groups. And if this comes up with your person, it means that you are, you have like a link. You have a soul contract with each other. If you get it with this one, it means it's your twin flame. And you have you've been incarnated together and you're finding each other again in this lifetime. Again, there's all sorts of ways to interpret this and other cards that will come up with it. Sometimes this can be negative if it's tied to nostalgia and somebody can't let go and they're like living in the past in denial, like with the Two of Swords or an Eight of Swords card. So going back to our water signs and the astrological, little things that I'm doing. So you have cardinal water, which is, what is that? Water, Pisces, Scorpio, and help me. Oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember this right now. I've been doing too many videos. So this is going to be for the astrological sign of water that is cardinal. Cancer. Thank you. Cancer the crab. So Cancer is going to be either the energy, at least the energy associated with this, if not the actual sign for a person. If you're looking for more information in depth from your spread, this can help inform you of some of like the signs for that person. But definitely the energy. And then with our 4, 5, 6, this is the fixed water. So this is Scorpio. Looks like Scorpio doesn't. And then also, the twin flame. So that's funny, like the soul ties. So this is going to be your fixed water for Scorpio, 4, 5, and 6. And then we have 7 of Cups. This is a really interesting card. It can go in a lot of directions. So this is about having choices and having options. Some people feel like this is about delusion and about having too many options and having like an inability to pick. You can take it that this person has all of their options, and or it could be that they're so I mean, it's cups, so it's emotional. Could be that they have so many mixed emotions that they don't know how to like process through that. Just they're bombarded. But if you look into the cups, they're filled with like snake, a head, a person under a sheet, gold, a laurel wreath. There's a dragon. There's a castle. So this is like kind of, it's not really like a wish card. It has to do with the wishes. It has to do with wanting and not choosing or being options. Again, you're going to want to look at what's next to it. But overall, again, for me, I tend to take it as this person has options. Specifically with water, it could be that this person is like not committed or they're bombarded. I don't know. Take that how you will. It is a 7, so it means that there's change occurring, change, again, growth and expansion. So it could be that this person is a little bit overwhelmed. Ooh, 8 of Cups, one of my favorite cards. This is about when it's time to move on to something else, just like the 6 of Swords. Also has to do with passing of water. Now, this person's walking, and they are passing through kind of like an ocean scene. It's night/day. That is a moon. It seems to be dark, but also with the face of the moon, could be a full moon, could be, an allegory for the sun. The one thing about this card is that it's towards the end of the cycle. It's an 8. And this person is making a decision to walk away from something that's not good for them. And there tends to be more emotional grief or sadness with the walking away than with the 6 of Swords, in my personal opinion and experience. But this person is determined, and they're going to something better. Anytime you have somebody going anywhere, they're going towards something better. And they're also, because it's night, because there's water, and it's a Suit of Cups, this is a very emotional decision for them. They could be really listening to their intuition. This could look very illogical to other people on the outside, whereas the Swords people, or the 6 of Swords, are going to go, oh yeah, you should go. Like, this isn't right. This one is where this person has to go inside, and it can be an emotional journey. It can be about healing. It can be about emotionally creating detachment or distance from a certain scenario, even though you aren't changing the outward. So again, there's a lot of nuance here that depending on what comes up next to it and how you're reading it. But I love this card. If I get this one, man, I love it. All right, and we have 9 of Cups. This is a person who is fulfilled. He has all 9 of his cups. He's satisfied. This is one of the wish cards. The other wish card is the star and the major arcana. You get this and that one together. Start making wishes because it's all coming to you. And this is, again, this emotional fulfillment, completion, feeling good, feeling satisfied. You're serene, you're also happy, you're fulfilled. It's really, really positive. You're content. It's stable in like a really good, positive way. And when you have 7, 8, 9, this is going to be Pisces, Piscean energy, mutable water energy. Okay. And you can definitely see that with this walking. And again, even the Pisces, like the dreamy, ethereal, like linked to spirit, this can be a big manifestation card. If this person's like really like, I want this and I want this, I'm like, I'm ordering with the universe, all the things I want, it can be that too. Last but not least, 10 of Cups. Look at that, baby. We did the 10 of Pentacles before. Definitely look at that video. That's like the wealth, all of the outward wealth and accomplishment and accolades, and having it all, the white picket fence. This is the same. This is where you are emotionally and spiritually fulfilled and connected. You have true connection with your family, true connection with the universe. Look at that rainbow. That is spirit shining on you. You have 10 cups. You have done the work. You are settled. You are matured. You're connected. This is where you are truly, truly happy. The reference that I made in the 10 of Pentacles is that it could look okay. And although it is in a Pentacles way, you do have things, doesn't mean that you're emotionally fulfilled. This is when you have the emotional fulfillment, not just with yourself and your loved ones, but with spirit. This is a person who is very connected and centered with themselves, centered with source in the universe. It does not get better than this. And it's a 10. So this is a transition phase. It looks like we have it all, but we're going to be moving over to 1 again soon. So look for some change, but this is going to go with you. Every time you go from 0 to 10, everything you did in 1 through 9 goes with you into the 10 and as you level up. So you're not losing any of this. It comes with you. That's why the 0 is there, because you're going around that wheel and you're starting over again. Some things when consider when you are working with, I find water energy to be very slippery sometimes, just personally, because it has to do with emotions. People obviously get really emotional about it. And people feel very protective of their feelings, as they rightly should, especially because it's not just their own emotional feelings, but it's also their connection to spirit and intuition. So I try to be very mindful, to be very respectful, and to like let people save face as much as I can, and put any interpretation or any ambiguity or vagueness that I have, I put it before them. And so I give them the option of like, however you feel about that, however this resonates with you. Um, and again, because it can be very telling to people, it can be a lot of truth. It can be a lot of truth in any of your cards, but again, with the swords and then the water cup, the water energy, sometimes there's more truth on the table than that person can digest, either in that minute or in front of you. Sometimes they will go away and you'll wonder, like, did that get to them? Did they like it? I don't know. I have had readings where it takes days to sink in, and the cups is one of those, because this has to do with, again, that water energy in the person. That can be subconscious, unconscious, it's emotional, it can be very deep. Again, think Scorpio, like this is all of that within us. It can be that shadow side of the moon, the death card, all of these really intense energies you're dealing with when you're talking about cups with people. So just be mindful that, and some people do not deal well with their emotions to begin with, especially if you have, like, I don't know, I've known some Geminis, like there's some people who, if they are heavy in air or heavy in even earth signs, I think sometimes can have a difficult time going into that intuitive, because they're so concrete. They can be very concrete. So again, when you're dealing with water, be aware that you are walking on, sacred, hallowed ground for people in their lives, and they may not be aware of what you are seeing plainly on the table, because you have objectivity as a tarot reader with your own intuition, not being them, not being emotionally invested in what's happening and reading the cards that are very clear to you. They may or may not know, they may not be aware themselves of what's happening. So when you're dealing with the cup cards and you're dealing with, the read overall, be very sensitive and gentle and really feel out how much this person can digest in that moment. Doesn't mean that you can't, you never compromise your read. If you can't say it, then don't say it. Or if you have to find a different way to say it, that's okay too. But don't ever hurt or, be intentionally harsh or say something for the sake of you being like truthful in your reading, because that's not what we're doing. We're reading to help people. And sometimes, again, depending on what the content is, this is cups card, could be trauma, could be PTSD, could be abuse that's happening in an old season of their life, or can be abuse that's happening in their current life. So you could be really walking into a shitstorm and you don't know. Even if you see it on the table, you may not understand the full situation for them. Doesn't mean that you compromise the reading, but you will definitely need to tap into your empathic side and, ask universe and their guides and your guides or whoever you talk to help you with that read, to be as most helpfulness and comfort to that person as possible. And if you do come across something, you can let them know, I am a tarot reader. I am a spiritual advisor. I can offer you help and comfort. I can offer you spiritual insight. But if you need a police officer or a lawyer or a women's shelter, or if you need a therapist, like, I want to direct you to the professional that you need to go in, because if this person needs professional help, you can't help them with that with cards on the table. You can help give them insight, you can help give them validation, you can help give them ideas, you can give them a third eye point of view. And those things can be vital when people are moving forward. And you will get a lot of people who do not want to be a part of the system or have had a bad experience in the system, and that's why they are now turning to alternative spiritual modalities such as tarot. So they may be extremely closed off to something like seeing a therapist or going to a mental health clinic. But that doesn't mean that you take that on because that's where they're at in their journey. So, speak the truth that you see there, speak the truth, that intuitions, and you can ask them, sometimes you can have a very, very, very deep read with somebody. Sometimes you will be there for a while. And if that person's tracking with you and you'll feel it and you'll know when it's coming up and if they're ready and how that conversation's going. And then sometimes you're like, nope, they're not having it, or they're not open, or I see this, but I can't really comment on it. And that's okay too. You, in all likelihood, will very often know or see more in the cards than you can maybe have a conversation about, and that's okay. Spirit doesn't make us responsible as readers to have any outcome. We're just there to provide service with love, to the best of our ability. That's the only thing that we can and should be doing. But again, some of these cards, again, the swords and the cups tend to go together with really, really intimate, personal parts of people's psyches. Their subconscious, their unconscious habits, patterns, thought patterns, limiting beliefs, and you can sometimes rattle the cage and piss off their bear. So just be aware of that. Just be aware of that, not to scare you off, but so that you know how to read very respectfully and politely for people, and how that you need to use your intuition and your empathic skills so that when you are reading for people, you can be helpful and again, not give them more truth than they can digest, and then you end up, hurting them, or they're like, oh my gosh. On that same track, I will say, I have had to give bad news to people most of the time. So everybody reads cards. This is the format that all of my classes are built on. Everybody reads tarot cards. Even your querents who don't read cards are reading the cards when you lay them down. They don't have the experience or knowledge or information about them that you do, but these are archetypical. All of the symbols, all of the iconography, all of the illustrations are archetypical, and anybody in any language, in any place, at any point in time is going to see these and get a message in their intuitive side from these, or again, their logical side. That's the strength of tarot. So your student or your querent is going to be reading these at the same time you are. They may be having different conclusions. Almost certainly they'll be having different conclusions. They may or may not be, again, as knowledgeable about the cards as you are. They may be interpreting them differently than you do, and that's fine. I have people that I almost refuse to read for because they read them over my shoulder and it makes me mad. And I'm like, well, you can read your own cards. You don't need me here. And so sometimes, especially if they do read, they're like, oh, this is what this means. And you're like, okay. So having said that, sometimes you do have to give bad news to people. As I was saying, sometimes when you lay them down, if you see that Ten of Swords, the Nine of Swords, the Death card, the Tower card, people immediately know what that means. Oh, shit. Oh, and they just have a physical reaction. The Three of Swords comes up. It grabs everybody by the throat. So don't be afraid to give people bad news. Sometimes, and this is the strength of tarot, sometimes I've been able to say to somebody, hey, I see something coming down for you. I don't think you're going to like it. And you can change it. That's the whole point of tarot. This is not fortune telling. You're not casting. I've read things that said you shouldn't do too much tarot because you're making things become real, essentially. And if you do a bad throw, you're making that happen for the person. That's insane and bizarre, stupid, wrong, errant information. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Tarot is about empowering people, which is why I do it. And it gives people information so that if they don't like an outcome, they can change it. Tarot is a snapshot of their energy at this moment in time when you read. If you read it a minute later, it would be a different spread because in that minute, quantum things have been occurring for them in their energy and all over the universe on their behalf that relates to them, and something different will have happened. So tarot is about letting somebody know this is what's happening around you, to you, through you, in you, and if you don't like it, change it. And if you like it, you're doing great. Keep going. And it used to be really hard for me to say difficult things or things that I would not have wanted to hear or things that I thought tarot wasn't about to people. And when I started to speak the truth of what I saw to them, sometimes they would say, wow, I really needed to hear that. Thank you. And you helped me avert this situation, or it really tipped me off. I thought something was wrong. I didn't know how to put my finger on it, but this reading shows me that this is what this is. And now I know how to handle it because you brought clarity about this problem to me that I knew was there, but I didn't have the details on. And they can say, oh yeah, no, I don't want that, and now I'm going to go do something different. And again, it can be very validating. Sometimes in the spiritual community, the good vibes only and love and light only crowd can really invalidate the difficult situations that we find ourselves or that we put ourselves in, frankly, and can be very invalidating that anything bad or negative or painful happens to us. And there's nothing worse than going to a spiritual advisor, which as a tarot reader you are, and being invalidated on your experience. And when you say something horrible happened to me, and they say, well, that's fine. That's part of the journey. You're doing okay. You might as well go to church. That's not what we're here to do. So it has also been very healing for people to see that the universe sees them and that I'm picking up on the difficult time they've had. And sometimes I go, oh my goodness, you have been through it, huh? I can see that. You need a hug. And they go, yeah, thank you. Thank you for knowing that. Thank you for seeing that. And they feel seen. You act, one of your primary roles is to act as a loving witness, as an observer of their process. And so when you say, hey man, this looks like it's been hard for you, I can really see that, that's validating for them. And sometimes that's all people need, is some external validation to say, yeah, this has been hard. This is probably more than really somebody should have had to deal with, and I apologize. That really sucks. And then that helps bring them back to their own sense of empowerment, because sometimes, with people being spiritual and emotional, if something hurts somebody more than the people around them think it should have, those other people can tend to invalidate. I'm sure that many of you guys have had this situation. You go through something that for you was very devastating, very traumatic, and people go, well, that's not a big deal. Like, what's your deal? Like, get over it. Well, that doesn't help. And so as a spiritual person, when you can say, oh, this did happen, and that was bad for you. This was hurtful. This was bad. And then they feel seen. They have their own internal wisdom. They have their own internal knowing. They don't need answers from a tarot reader. That you're acting as a witness so that then they can now be the conduit to their own healing, because instead of convincing people how they feel, they can now go about the work of healing what has gone wrong and uncovering their wholeness. And for people who have not yet learned how to be their own witness and be their own observer, that's still a really, really important role for them to have. And as a spiritual advisor, you are in that role, and that is something that they're looking for from you, different degrees based on the different persons that you come about in your lifetime, or, as in their lifetime and what they've been going through. So, that can be both. Be careful, because you are treading on sacred ground, and you can really walk into a quicksand of a hole that you can't get yourself out of. So be very, very careful when you're talking, and be very intentional about choosing your words. Not that you're walking on eggshells, but that you understand that you can, you're really dealing with sensitive things when you're dealing with people's lives. On the other hand, speak the truth that you see, because it can be very validating for people to see that the universe sees them and that another human sees what they've been going through. And that can be very healing for them. And of course, you'll want to, and I know that everybody will, do that with as much respect and sensitivity as they possibly can, because we do this to help people. We do this to help ourselves, not to hurt or, further wound anybody. So that's that. All right, folks, thanks for joining me. Be sure to go back and check out the Wands video, because there's some information on the minor arcana there. And I hope to see you in class. Thanks for joining me.